Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, True School Sports, coming to you live and direct with none other than former heavyweight contender, the boxing banker, Charlotte's finest, Calvin Brock. How you doing, Calvin?
Hello, how you doing, Brandon? Thanks for having me on the True School Sports.
Yes, it's an honor to have you. I've always been a big admirer of yours from afar. I loved how you kind of. Brock, how you doing, Calvin? We're
Hello,
always.
how you doing, Brandon? Thanks for having me on
Hold on a second. Hold
True
on.
School Sports.
Hold on a second. Yes. I had the other tab open. But what I was going to say is I've always been an admirer of your career because you kind of took an unorthodox approach to boxing. You were kind of always that Cinderella story, the guy people kind of wrote off, but continued to fight very well and prove the doubters wrong. When you look back at your career, what are some of the things that you admire most about it or take from it the most?
What I take from it the most is probably a full holistic experience. You know, it I've never had that question asked before.
Oh,
What I take from the most, you know, to really okay. I don't have any regrets. I think I did everything properly, did everything right to the best of my ability, and I think I had a pretty successful career. Other than not winning the championship title when I fought Klitschko in November '06, uh, I want to get back into the sport. To be quite honest with you, man. If I get my vision back, I'll be back in there. And I didn't get to finish up the way I wanted to finish up. And when I wanted to finish, I got put out due to some blindness in my right eye from a detached retinal surgery. And the surgery took me out, so everything came unexpected. I didn't get to finalize my boxing career, and I'm still setting appointments. I have an appointment set for this month on the 28th, to see what modern technologies are out that may be some help to me. But I still have dreams of coming back and still dreaming my sleep of being champion, and have dreams of seeing again on my right eye, and I will be back better, stronger, and I think I will be on world champion if I can only make a comeback.
I mean, it's tough, man. You had your career cut relatively short. I think you had to retire at 32, if I'm correct.
Yeah, 32.
32 years old, and I mean, it wasn't because of anything. It was because of an eye surgery. So that's tough to do, and I'm praying that you eventually get that vision back because we'd like to see you, make an attempt to make that dream come true and become the first heavyweight title holder from Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, are you still do you still like go to the gym? Are you still involved in actually like boxing at all?
I haven't been involved that much, not as much as I would like to be. I haven't even been to the boxing gym probably since March. I've been having just to do push-ups and sit-ups out of the house. Actually, this week, it's funny that you asked. Today is my second day back in the YMCA, just doing cardiovascular stuff to try to, get back in shape. And uh, I haven't had time basically because of family, wife, two children, 6 and 2 years old, having to work, keep bills paid.
Yeah.
It just isn't enough time in the day, and I just can't sacrifice the time away from my children right now to be in the boxing gym training other, youths. But I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully you get the chance to do that. You had an amateur record of 147 and 38. If I'm not mistaken, you lost your first three amateur fights. Is that correct?
Lost my first six.
The last first six. So, what was that like? How are you able to overcome such a bad start to your amateur career?
My first boxing match was awful. I started with an 80-year-old man that wasn't training much, wasn't training me much, and I had a pretty sheltered upbringing, and really wasn't used to street fighting and things like that. So I had an awful first match, the most awful first match I've ever seen since I've been boxing, even to this day. I had parents telling me, my own parents telling me, officials telling me, everybody telling me to quit after my first boxing match. But then by my second boxing match, I really won, but didn't get the decision. But I showed a lot of promise, and I went on to keep losing. But by the time I got to my fifth boxing match, although I lost, I had progressed so much. A lot of people began to say I was going to be champion one day. So when my seventh boxing match came, I won, and then I kind of just went from there.
That's awesome. That showed. I'm sure you had like when you began to show that progression, it was probably like a really good feeling. And then when you finally got your hand raised, that probably had to be like the best feeling in the world.
It was one of the best feelings in the world. Like finally, I can get a win out this game.
Yeah, man. Like I said earlier, you had some struggles in your amateur career. What was your training routine like as an amateur?
It was just as hard as the professionals, to be quite honest with you. Although I was boxing 3, 4, maybe 5 round boxing matches, all depending on how the rules were during the year, because the amateur rules change so frequently. Uh, it was because I was in school, uh, high school, junior high school. Uh, it was run as soon as I got home from school, or go to the YMCA for weightlifting or swimming, and then from there to the boxing gym, and then come home and do my homework. And that was my training schedule. I honestly trained just as hard as I did in the amateurs as I did professional. And you probably get almost all boxers to tell you that that's elite.
Yeah. What was like the hardest thing about your training regimen, or the hardest thing about boxing in general?
Hard thing about boxing in general is learning and uh, going up against more experienced competition where you have to beat out somebody that's favorite to win the tournament when they show up. And the deal with the cheating, man, amateur says politics, favoritism like crazy. And there's a lot of hype too. I mean, there's a lot of hype when you get to the nationals, 200 something boxers showing up at the nationals, all regional champions, and they already have the eyes on them that they're going to win. And to overcome that, it's a lot of pressure that really prepares boxers for the pros to be world champions.
Yeah, I mean, politics in boxing is just out of this world sometimes, and I'm sure being a kid from Charlotte, North Carolina, who was just out here trying to prove himself as a guy that had some struggles, had it really tough on you first.
Oh, awesomely tough. Uh, Especially like in North Carolina, where we have Camp Lejeune, which is the Army. I mean, I'm sorry, the Army, which is Fort Bragg, and Camp Lejeune, which is the Marines. And when I started back in the '80s, Camp Lejeune was like one of the top military teams in the nation, and right behind them was Fort Bragg. And then they kind of like switched off from Fort Bragg being top to Camp Lejeune, and to overcome those guys in the eyes of the officials and the other club gyms that had former veterans that used to be in the military, they were favored by the officials prior to even boxing against them. And to overcome the bad decisions, man, when you really would beat those guys or beat one of the popular coaches that had a boxing team that used to be in the military, it was tough, man. Tougher than ever. I mean, way worse than what it is today.
Yeah, and you were able to overcome a lot of that. As far as you mentioned being from North Carolina, and you were an Olympian, and you're the only, like I said to begin the interview, you were like really the only like notable boxer to come out of Charlotte. Is that correct?
There was one other. I was probably the most worldwide known and nationally known ever. Right next to me was Kelvin Seabrooks. When I started back in '88, he was the IBF World Bantamweight Champion. So people around here knows who he is. But as far as nationwide, nationally, and worldwide, I'm the largest ever.
Okay, so like being from Charlotte, North Carolina, which really isn't a boxing hotbed. It's a hotbed for like basketball. They produce some football players, but not really boxing. Did that play any type of role on did that play any role in people's perception of you in the Olympics, being that you were from Charlotte and you weren't from like New York or Philly or LA?
It didn't, because by the time I had got to the Olympics, I was already ranked #1 in the country, favored to make the Olympic team. Anyway, I had stayed on top for the past 4 previous years. I was in the '96 Olympic trials, Then I stayed number 2 in the country, 97, 98, then 99, 2000. I was number 1 because I moved up to super heavyweight. So they didn't look at where I was from. They just respected the reputation and my name. Just to hear my name and the reputation is really, overshadowed where I was from.
Yeah, yeah. No, and like being from Charlotte, like, did anybody that was from Charlotte that maybe had never seen anybody kind of make it in boxing, did they ever kind of like doubt you, saying nobody's ever made it out of here, and then why would you make it out of here?
Absolutely. Actually,
Hello?
yeah, yeah. I'm back.
Okay, all right. I haven't
Yeah,
though. You cut off for a second.
yeah. I don't know what happened, but yes, I was saying that even the reporters and the media here didn't think that I would make the Olympic team. I kind of like shocked everybody. Although I was national champion favorite, I don't think they believed that an Olympian could really come out of Charlotte in boxing. So I think I really opened up the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah, and you proved them all wrong. You were able to do really good things for Charlotte, and you being the first Olympian to come out of Charlotte. You had a nickname, probably one of my favorite nicknames in boxing. You were the boxing banker. I know the story about it, but could you tell people where that nickname comes from, the boxing banker?
Once I graduated from college, I was a finance major and I went to work at Bank of America. And I made the Olympic team right after they hired me. And since they were chief Olympic sponsors back in for the 2000 Olympics, they used me in a USA Today advertisement, and they referred to me as the boxing banker. And then the name just stuck. People like it a lot, so I just kept it.
Yeah, yeah, the boxing banker. It definitely stuck. With Charlotte being one of the banking capitals of the United States of America. You were trained by Pernell Whitaker. I've always wanted to know this. What was Pernell Whitaker like as a trainer?
Um, he had some good strategy insights. Basically, concentrating, taking control, and more importantly, utilizing my jab. I think he really made the importance of overutilizing the jab and being an excellent defense technician and and moving, not staying stationary. After I punch, move. If I sit still, you're gonna get hit. Taking your time. Focus. He had 3 words: focus, patience, and control. Well, just 3 things: focus, patience, and control.
So he was able to kind of make you more of a boxer and add that kind of dimension to your game.
I was already a pretty decent boxer. There were some things that I wish I hadn't changed with him, but far as you know, focus, patience, control, utilizing the jab and defense and strategy wise, I think he was good. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the things that you wish you wouldn't have changed when you were with them?
Well, he had this big thing about staying on your back toe, and it's wrong. I was doing it right at first and trying to please him, and it was wrong. And had I stayed back on my back foot and stayed further away like I was supposed to, keeping the back leg, the back heel down, which is how boxers are supposed to keep the back heel down until you throw a right hand. And that's when you flip it out, onto the ball of the foot, the right foot. And I wasn't doing that because he had switched me up a little bit. And with Eddie Chambers, I wouldn't have got hit as much had I done it my own way, the way I know how to do it.
I got you. Pernell. Yeah, I'm sure there was pros and cons to that whole situation, but 2006 was a big year for you, boxing wise. You obviously had the Klitschko fight, but then you also had the really devastating knockout of Zuri Lawrence. It was actually, I think it was the knockout of the year, voted by Ring Magazine. Talk to me about that knockout, because it was one of the better knockouts I've seen since I've been a boxing fan.
Yeah, Zuri was giving me a pretty good boxing match up until I knocked him out. He worked into my strategy. once I started finding my way, the openings, once he slowed down a little bit, got a little bit weaker in his punches, I saw the knockout coming. And if you watch the boxing match again, you will see me tell my corner not to worry about anything. I got it. I got it. It's coming. And then the next round, I knocked him out. So, because I had a real good inside game that a lot of heavyweights and a lot of boxers can't hang with, and I think my inside game wore him down to where I was able to start finding openings, and I set him up the perfect left hook and landed the knockout of the year.
Yeah, it was pretty devastating. I know it was like if you're watching the slow motion, Zeri kind of just like falls back and his head hit the canvas pretty hard. It was one of the better knockouts I've seen. I was really enjoyed watching that fight.
Thank you.
Yeah, another fight. Obviously, the fight that most people know you for the most is the Klitschko fight because it was at Madison Square Garden. It was for the heavyweight title. Just take us back to that night in it was December, right? December 2006.
November 11th, 2006.
November 11th. Yeah, take us back to the night in November of 2006 and just your whole fight with Klitschko.
Um, Not to make an excuse. I think Wladimir Klitschko is a great boxer. Obviously, he's had all those defenses and champion for almost 10 years. I'm pretty sure a lot of boxers that fight that are boxed against Wladimir can say, I wasn't at my best. I didn't feel my best. And maybe because he made his opponents not feel their best. So going into that boxing match, as I said before, I literally overtrained in preparation and got too weak and had to come home and take about a 4-day break and then go back in and training camp and try to recoup. And I never really did. And I started out, pretty sharp, but I didn't feel the strength and the snap and the power of my punches like I normally do. Not to say that they were landing anyway, but the biggest thing is with Vladimir is he has an excellent jab, excellent technique, very intense opponent or a boxer that keep you real intense and he doesn't get tired. I mean, he's just as good in the last round as he is the first round. And whereas most boxers will fade a little bit and get a little weaker with you in the middle rounds and then get strong in the end. When in the middle rounds, when you're weak, he's still strong and he's still got that great jab and that hard right hand and that left hook coming off the jab. And it's tough to contend with. And I think that, he might would have beat me on my best day.
Yeah, I mean, he is an Olympic gold medalist, so it's not like Wladimir Klitschko was some rinky-dink fighter out of nowhere. You lost to a guy that's the longest reigning heavyweight champion since Larry Holmes and an Olympic gold medalist. That's nothing to hang your head on. But I actually went back and I watched some of that fight, and I was watching like how you were kind of throwing your jabs compared to other fights, and it just seemed like I saw it like your legs didn't have the same sort of like spring to them or the same sort of bounce to them. And when you would hit Klitschko, you were landing a lot of those jabs to the body, but they didn't really have the same effect they had on other heavyweights because I guess if you overtrained and you peaked before the fight, then the jab wasn't what it usually is, and that's obviously a big deal because the jab is the most important punch in all of boxing. It sets up everything.
Oh man, I was so weak. Honestly, in my mind, had I been the way I was the fight prior when I fought Timur Bergamov or Zeri, I didn't feel so great when I fought Zeri Lawrence. I really didn't.
Oh, talking about before Klitschko?
Yeah. I didn't feel great when I fought Zeri Lawrence and had the knockout of the year. I felt pretty strong when I fought Timur Bergamov, but if I had felt at least half as good as I did in any previous boxing matches, I think I would have beat Vladimir because I knew what to do and I had him. He wasn't showing me anything that I couldn't handle. I just didn't have the strength. I was too weak. I didn't have any legs, like you said, that you noticed. And I just couldn't get out of the way of his jab anymore. And you keep getting hit with jabs, and sooner or later, the right hand's coming.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
One thing that kind of frustrates me about when people talk about Klitschko's career, they kind of go through his resume and they'll see your name and they'll go watch the highlights and they'll be like, oh, he he blew Calvin Brock out, and then I'll say, well, and then they'll try to like diminish who you were as a fighter. I'll be like, yo, Calvin Brock was a good fighter. At that point, you were the only heavyweight in the top 10 that was undefeated, who had never lost a professional fight. You were a U.S. Olympian, and on top of that, you cut Klitschko in the 5th round. If you were drained and you cut him in the 5th round, you know that's got to speak volumes to how good of a fighter you were. Because if you peaked early and then you cut him in the 5th round, despite all that, you know you're a good fighter. Like, okay, you can't take nothing away from Calvin Brock. That's what I always tell people. Like that kind of, you go through Klitschko's resume and they want to kind of write off some of the fighters he's beat.
I appreciate that, but you know, Vladimir has said himself in some interviews that up until maybe just the last couple, 2 or 3 years, that I was his toughest opponent he had ever faced since he's been world champion.
Wow, he said that. I haven't seen those. I'll have to go check those out.
He has said that. You research it. He said that.
I'll have to go do my homework.
And, you know, probably after he had made around like maybe 10, 11, 12 defenses, who has been your toughest opponent, and he mentioned my name as the toughest opponent that he's had.
Wow. So I mean, that says something, because he's the longest running heavyweight champion we've had ever. So I mean, there's no shame in what happened to Klitschko that night. You know, you fought Klitschko, you fought Eddie Chambers. You know, have you ever fought a guy that brought more to the table than you expected? Who like surprised you?
I would say Vladimir won. His jab surprised me. I've been able to get out of the way of anybody. His whole fight game surprised me. His strength really surprised me. His strength, how hard he is to hit, his jab, and the intensity of his game in the boxing ring, the intensity of the fight, all that surprised me. You know, and then I was next to him, I would say Eddie Chambers. He had some exceptional speed, and I honestly, without a doubt, know I beat him.
Yeah, those politics.
Yeah. I mean, I got thrown on the card with Goose and Tudor all by myself. Goose and Tudor, you know, Dan had chosen all the judges, and you know, hey, I came up to a split decision where I know I won 8 of those 12 rounds, no question, 7. So, but you know, it doesn't really matter now. It was win or lose. I want to be able to box again.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you had a very good career. I think you had a kind of career where, like, anybody who's, even if they're not in boxing or they are in boxing, they can still kind of take something from it, because you were a guy that really you had to really press into your craft, and you went pretty far with it. And you still can, you know, hopefully you get your vision back, and maybe you can get back in the ring again one of these days.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm preserved, and you know, I'm bigger, stronger, I'm recouped. I've been in the gym throughout the years, and I've, you know, fine-tuned my skills. I will come back, I think, way better than what I was before.
Yeah. Do you still follow like boxing?
I do follow it, but not that close, not that often. I'm not on the websites that often. I currently don't have HBO, Showtime right now. So I haven't been able to follow no other place than YouTube, watching the fights, the post fights, like, you know, Klitschko and Fury and Brian Jennings and Ruiz.
Yeah.
So I keep up with the heavyweights.
Well, what's your overall take on the heavyweight division right now?
I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
It's strong. Honestly, I think it's the heavyweight division has been stronger than what people want to give credit. If you look at Vladimir, if you look at all the opponents he's faced and beaten, he's beaten some real good opponents. You talk Alexander Povetkin, gold medalist, Sultan Ibragimov,
Chris Bird 2 times.
Thompson.
Yeah, Chris Bird. He beat Chris Bird 2 times.
Chris Bird 2 times. I mean, Vladimir has beaten so many good undefeated boxers and Olympians, and he himself being so great. The competition has really been, you know, with a bunch of Europeans that are loaded, a pretty loaded division. It just hasn't been bringing the ratings.
Yeah, it hasn't because we haven't had that kind of like American, heavyweight champion or like fighter. We haven't had that. We had Shannon Briggs held the title for a little bit. We got Wilder now. Yeah, I mean, American heavyweight boxing has kind of, it's taken a dip. It's taken a bit of a dip in the Europeans, not just in the heavyweight division, but in all boxing, and kind of taken over a lot of the divisions. You got like Victor Postol at 140. You have what's his name, Lomachenko in the lower divisions. A lot of these Eastern Golovkin. A lot of these Eastern
Right.
Europeans really playing well, or not playing well, but fighting well, I should say. Um,
Right. Even the light heavyweight guy.
Kovalev,
What's his name?
Sergey Kovalev.
Right, him. Man, the top boxers aren't in the United States right now. They're not.
The rest of the world kind of caught up to us, so United States got to get on this job and start like getting back to what it used to be. Hopefully, you mentioned Vladimir and you mentioned Tyson Fury. What do you think Tyson or Vlad's chances of winning the rematch against Tyson Fury are?
I look at that boxing match closely, and unless Vladimir really can get in there and put the pressure with his jab, because I don't. Vladimir didn't show much pressure with that jab like he normally does. He didn't. I mean, he just was measuring him out with it, but he didn't really use his jab the way he normally does. And I think that if he used the jab more and threw his right hand more and followed more hooks and leveled more hooks, not to say it was easy because Tyson Fury is a taller guy, a taller man, a bigger man, and he has excellent movement and he has great skills. He's really good. I don't think anybody else out there will beat him unless they land a punch and knock him out. Other than Vladimir, I think Vladimir stands a chance, but if he comes back and boxes the exact same way again, I can't see him beating Tyson Fury.
Yeah, Tyson's got like underrated skills. Like a lot of the American media and even a lot of the fight fans, they want to always kind of discredit Tyson Fury. I mean, this is a guy who's like 6'8", 6'9", can switch southpaw, orthodox, can jab very well, moves very well for his size, and he can sit there and trade with you as well. So yeah, I don't think he's getting the credit for his skills that he does have, and people want to kind of discredit his win against Vladimir. But hey, he fought an intelligent fight. I think any heavyweight that's going to go in there and beat him has to be a special type of person to go in there and dethrone Fury. Whether that's Wilder, Joshua, whoever it may be, they're going to have their work cut off for them dealing with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I mean, if he can handle being world champion, although I know being world champion, but I know that now that he's world champion, it's going to be a lot more distractions. Is he going to stay as hungry as each time out and train just as hard as he trained to beat Vladimir? That has a lot to do with showing up the way he showed up against Vladimir in the future too. Is this it for him? Has he accomplished his dream? And is he still hungry enough to get in there and train hard and be hungry to win each and every time out? And I also learned that from Pernell Whitaker. He said, man, anybody can win a world title, but anybody can't keep one. He said it's harder to keep a title than what it is to win it. And I've always heard that.
Yeah, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see whenever they fight again. So I'm looking forward to that fight. And just in general, a lot of guys in boxing just don't know how to keep world titles because they get content. They win a title. They think they've made it. Their head gets big. They don't train as hard. Some of them become actors and start doing movies.
Right, it's a lot of distractions. That's you got to realize for Vladimir to stay champion as long as he has, and be so popular in Germany and around the world. You have to he's a great champion. He is. He's just a real great champion. He has been one.
No, he is. I actually got a chance because Vladimir, where I live in South Florida, Vladimir actually trains not too far from where I live. So I go down to the heavyweight factory where he trains quite frequently, and I saw him. I think it was the second or third time I went there. I actually got a chance to watch him train for a little bit, and he's just like focused. He's in his own little world. Nothing else is bothering him. There could be blaring music or it could be quiet. It really doesn't matter. He's in the ring. He's working on his jab. He's moving around. It's just like another level of focus I've never seen before, and that's what it takes to be world champion.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I found kind of interesting, and I was just thinking about this before we came on today. You have in the heavyweight division, you have a guy like Deontay Wilder, and he's kind of the first like got native from his hometown to kind of blossom into becoming like a star in boxing. And you were the first from Charlotte to really kind of pop off in boxing and do well in boxing. So you guys are kind of similar to me in that way. What if you could talk to Deontay Wilder about kind of being the first from your city or area to become really good at boxing, what advice would you give Deontay Wilder?
Well, I went to Tuscaloosa, and because there was a guy that used to live in Charlotte that I grew up boxing with.
Hmm.
He's much older than what I am, though. I went to Tuscaloosa and I met Deontay Wilder in the gym. This is probably like a couple of years ago, about a year before he became world champion. And I told him, I said, man, I think you really going to become world champion. I can just tell that you're good. I think he has great skills, real technical skills. I think he's very talented, and I think he's gifted in the sport. A lot of things has worked out very well for him, and they're probably going to continue to work out well for him, which is normally the case when you take boxers that has done what he's done. Made the Olympic team with what 3-4 years of boxing experience,
Yeah.
something like that. And then when a bronze medal at the Olympics, I was in the Olympics. That's not easy to medal at the Olympics. It's very tough to get there. That's the reason why, we've only taken a 4-man team 2 times since 2000. Well, 1 time since 2000. 2000, and then what, 2008, the only 2 times they
Yeah.
took a 4-man team, because 2004, they didn't take a 4-man team. And to get there and to win a bronze medal, and then come out and go 29-0 to the World Heavyweight Championship. It kind of reminds you of people like George Foreman.
It's a good comparison.
You see, one of the good Olympic gold medal with less than 2 years of boxing experience, then he turns professional and becomes a great world champion. A 2-time world champion. So sometimes when you get guys like that, and things always work out in their favor, and they're gifted. They can be, it's going to take something special to beat them. And with this height, with this power, with this jab, this quickness, I think somebody will have a tough time beating him.
You think a guy like maybe Tyson Fury could beat him?
Well, I think Wladimir Klitschko would beat him. I think he's a small heavyweight, tall, thin, small heavyweight. I think he still has some improvement to do, but he's so talented. I think he's going to make that improvements. I really do. And but then it's got to wait to see. Sometimes some people in any sport, they can be real good early on, but never get any better. They peak out. They just don't keep developing.
Yeah. Well, what would you say to people who think that Deontay Wilder hasn't really fought anybody yet? Like he's fought like really faded ex-champions and like just like kind of guys who are not to the caliber of him. And, like they're kind of just building him up, and he's had like I guess 32 fights, and really, with the exception of the Stavern fight, all of them have kind of been fights he's supposed to win by a landslide.
Well, even if you are in the heavyweight division or in boxing period and you're fighting subpar competition, you still knocking everybody out. That says a lot.
That's
I mean,
true.
you still knowing how to knock everybody out like that, and dominate the way he's dominated. I mean, what can you say, man? They brought him up the correct way.
Yeah.
He's world champion undefeated. He's still knocking everybody out. He beats Stavern. Just have to wait and see. Just keep enjoying why, I think boxing needs that. I want to wait and see if somebody will be able to beat this guy.
Yeah.
They did Floyd Mayweather the same way. I wonder if Floyd will be able to get past De La Hoya and the next one, and the next one, the next one, and the next one. That's what makes people tune in. That's what makes you big.
True. And he's got a fight on the 16th. I might actually be there. I'm still waiting to see if I'm going to be there. But
Who's he fighting on the 16th?
He's fighting Arthur Spilka. He's rated in the top 10. He's like he's from I think he's from like Poland or something like that, and he has he's a pretty good puncher. He has like a 71% knockout percentage, so he's like a good southpaw. He's got good power in his left hand. You know, it's a fight that Deontay should still win, but it's not like as you know he's not as much of a favorite as he was in like his other fights.
Right.
Yeah, Arthur's a solid heavyweight, but it's still a fight he should win. But definitely a step up from like the last two guys he's fought, which was I think Eric Molina and like Johan Duapas, that one guy from France. So he should really. It's good. We're gonna learn a lot about him because the guy he's fighting is a good puncher and actually has been in there with some decent fighters as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Spilka fought I think Bryant Jennings. His only loss is to Bryant Jennings.
Brian Jennings pretty talented.
Yeah,
I don't think. I think he got exposed just to where I think he, was weak in some areas against Luis. I think I was pretty impressed with.
Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's something else. He was out there boxing on his toes, fighting on the inside. He showed a lot of dimensions on that against a really good heavyweight in Brian Jennings.
I would say next to Vladimir and Tyson Fury, he's pretty all around, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more around. He's more all around than I would say. I haven't seen a lot of him. I wasn't too impressed with him in the first round. I thought he was slapping with his punches a little bit, throwing a little bit too wide of a punches, slapping with him. But he got better as the fight went on, and he showed me some real nice stuff, man. Great jab, straight punches, good inside, short punches, good defense, good movement. I mean, good ring generalship. He showed a lot of experience, a whole lot of experience. I could tell that he's had a successful amateur career.
Yeah, and that's like the one guy at heavyweight that like nobody really wants to fight. Like nobody's gonna jump to go fight Luis Ortiz just because like the different dimensions he had. He's a good boxer, really good puncher, can beat you in a lot of different ways. So none of the top guys I think are gonna touch that guy for a little bit. Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I don't think any of those guys are gonna really like jump to fight.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how many more questions you have, man? I have to do a little bit of more working for my job tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's really all I had. Oh, actually, last thing I wanted to ask you, what's your opinion on we talked about Wilder, so I want to ask you about Wilder. What do you think about Anthony Joshua?
I haven't seen Anthony Joshua box in the professionals. I need to put him up on YouTube and take a look at him. But I did see him in the Olympics. He's a big guy. When he was like in the Olympics back in 2012, he was like what, 268 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, really big dude.
Really big dude, and throw good straight punches, very strong. One of the Olympics was like what, something like 33, 34, 35 boxing matches, career boxing matches. And didn't have a whole lot of experience under what, like 4 years of boxing experience or something like that. The heavyweight different. I mean, him being so big, talented, athletic. I really don't have an opinion because I haven't seen him in the professionals.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me know. I mean, how is he?
Well, he fought. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he fought Dylan White his last fight. Dylan White was the guy he lost to in the amateurs, and it was his first step up fight, and he actually had to overcome some adversity. He got stunned in the second round, but he was able to recover, and then the rest of the fight he boxed pretty smart. He started sticking his jab a little bit more as the fight went on. And then I would say around, I think, because he won in the 8th round via TKO. Around the 7th or the 6th, he started fighting more in the pocket, and then that's what set up the knockout. He was countering a lot better, and he made a few adjustments during the fight that I was pretty impressed with, and I thought it was good. I thought it was a good win for him in a step-up fight. I like him. I'm pretty high on him, but I want to see more first. I still want to see more from him.
How many boxing matches has he had?
I think that was his 18th fight.
18th fight. So 18th fight. It's been he was in the 012 Olympics, right?
Yeah.
4 years. When did he turn professional?
I think it was 2000, probably 13.
13. So
Like
they keeping him pretty busy. 18 fights in 3 years.
that.
Not even 3. Not even the 4-3 if they took him into 2013. So I think they're keeping him busy. He's probably doing real well over in Great Britain. Huge name, Olympic gold medal winner, and a great where boxing originated at in London.
Yeah, the fight he just had on Sky Sports, it was a pay-per-view fight. It did 400,000 buys over there in its 18th fight.
Dang,
it's good.
That's great. I mean, well, what can you say? I wish him the best.
Yeah, man. God bless him.
Yeah.
I know. Last question. I promise it's time. Last question. When people look back on your boxing career, what do you want them to remember you for?
I would like for people to remember me as the guy that showed up to be one of the top contenders in the world that pundits didn't even want to give a chance coming out of the Olympics.
Yeah, you proved a lot of people wrong, and I'm glad you took the time out to talk to me. I'm glad that we got to talk some boxing, talk about your career, talk about some of the things you were able to accomplish. And I'd love to have, whenever you want, I'd love to have you on again. I enjoyed talking. Yeah. And hopefully when I go to Charlotte, I can meet you in person.
Yeah, my number won't change. It'll be the same. Whenever you get here, give me a call. We'll hang out, Brendan.
Oh, I will, no doubt. So I appreciate you. Appreciate your time. For Calvin Brock, Brendan Taylor, True School Sports, signing off.
Okay, thanks, Brendan.